All right, here come the peeps.
Good to come. What's up, everybody?
I need to admit all. I only admitted Brian right there. There we go.
VIP status.
Yeah, that's right. We'll send you a
You
bill.
got in a whole 3 seconds early.
There we go.
I feel I have, you guys can't see it, but I have so much stuff in front of me right now. I've got my lunch, my water, my coffee, my books, my highlighters, my.
You need to fix that. It makes you too anxious.
What's
I
your
need all my-
lunch, Jeff?
I need this and I need this.
right.
That's from the jerk. My lunch is surprise, surprise, a salad
With
chicken?
salad.
with chicken in it.
Not tuna today.
Not tuna today.
That,
It did come out of a can though. So canned chicken is it's just so easy. Go to Costco and you buy a big bulk of either tuna or canned chicken.
yeah.
So
Is that
That's
the Aldi mixed bag or mixed salad?
of course it is. Of course, I'm a creature of habit.
telling
It's the bacon avocado ranch.
It's pretty good.
Sans the bacon, sans the cheese. So I just mix the ranch dressing in and dump my chicken in. So it's kind of hard to figure out because I have been kind of tracking my calories and my macros and stuff lately. It's hard when you dump out half of the condiments that are in there to really figure out what your real numbers are. So
Yeah, I like they got that Southwest salad with like those little crunchy things in there.
Mhm.
That are pretty good, but I usually don't throw those in there. So it is hard. But I guess, if we're erring on the side of we've eaten too many calories, we'll probably be all right at the end.
yeah.
And what are
Yep.
those? Those are like $2.13, I think is what Kendra told me they were.
Yeah, they're super, super cheap. We literally I think we buy 6 to 8 of them every week between myself and Sue. And we just, that's lunch. It's easy. In fact, I was coming out of the kitchen and Eric, my buddy, was in the gym talking to one of his clients and they were giving me trouble about my lunch. And Eric's like, I literally have seen him eat that almost every day that I've known him. Every day they were here, at least. Yeah, pretty funny.
Buddy Eric.
Buddy Eric. Yeah.
I go to the supermarket and buy bags of mixed vegetables. They're all sorts of vegetables. I throw them in like a Chinese wok.
Mm-hmm.
Add some fried chicken, a bit of cashew nuts, which is
Yeah.
a bit naughty, but they're good protein, I suppose. And then
heck
a
yeah.
little bit of sauce on top, and that's really nice. And then I had half an avocado to go with it on the side. That
Oh,
was
awesome.
my lunch.
I love it. We can't keep cashews at our house because my youngest son is very, very allergic to cashews, which I found out the unfortunate way when he was a little kid and I made him eat one and almost had to send him to the hospital because of it. He was I was getting ready to leave to go to a soccer game with my older son, and Grant was probably 2 or 3 at the time. And he picked up one of the cashews that I had, just in a bowl. I was sitting there eating them, and he picked it up and he started chewing it. He started like spitting it out. And I thought he was just being kind of a punk little kid. And so I forced him to swallow it. And within like 2 minutes, my wife is like, what's going on with Grant's face? What's wrong with him? And he was like turning splotchy red. He started like spitting, started, like having trouble breathing. It got really scary really quickly. Thankfully, we didn't have to do an EpiPen or anything. She called the hotline, gave him Benadryl right away, and that ended up taking care of it. But so we always have EpiPens on hand. But I love cashews. But can't keep cashews, and we also can't keep pistachios at the house because apparently he's pretty allergic to those as well.
No.
So, yeah,
That's a shame.
it is.
Have you guys have any nightmares lately? Forge nightmares. That is.
No.
I had one last night. I woke up really sweaty. I was dreaming I had half a wacky big chocolate bar, and in the middle of it, I realized, oh no, I've been eating a half a bar of chocolate. Woke up and it was just a dream.
That's funny, Marina. Ryan and I were just talking about your situation from last week or a week and a half ago, whenever that was, right before the call, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But Yeah, some panic can set in. Panic mode can definitely hit. In fact, I'm going to send an email out to just the Forge list, and I'll put this in the Facebook group too, because I kind of utilize those the same way when talking about some of the Forge stuff. But I was going to ask everybody, like, is it starting to get old yet? You know, is the Forge starting to get old? Because I think it's about this time when, you know, what are we, 19 days in from anybody that started on the 2nd? And it's about this time when people start to think like, okay, I get the point. Like, I get it. I'm kind of over it, you know? And it's that's when, it's exactly why New Year's resolutions fail. Right. And so my headline of the email is going to be, you know, like, is it getting old yet? And then like the subhead is going to be like, well, that's the freaking point, because it's when things start to get old and they start to get boring, and it's no longer this cool, sexy challenge that, oh, I'm going to do in January. And now it's it's like, no, you have to keep doing the thing, even though the excitement of it is now over. And, I was just listening to Dr. Huberman's podcast about dopamine and dopamine hits, and how, and I assume you'll all be able to relate to this, but dopamine, you know, we think we get dopamine when we get rewards, you know, like when we achieve a goal or whatever, but dopamine, really the biggest dump of dopamine happens with the anticipation of getting the reward. That's why when you're going into the challenge, you're like you're excited about it. And that's when you start thinking about it, that's the dopamine hits. When I know, like Ryan and I, if there's a new marketing course or something like that we're excited about, it's the getting that course, or like me, I love buying new books, right? Because I'm excited about the learning that's going to happen. And then it's almost like you buy the book, you get the book, and then maybe you read half the book, and it's almost like the letdown, because it's the buildup. It's like a vacation. It's the buildup to the vacation that is so exciting. So with the Forge, New Year's resolutions, whatever it is, the dopamine hits because you're excited about the possibilities. You're excited about maybe losing 10 pounds or getting in great shape or gaining 5 miles an hour club head speed, hitting a ball further. And then after you kind of get into the process of it, it's like, this isn't as cool and sexy as it was before. And I'm kind of bored and I'm kind of over it. And what's the next cool new thing? That's shiny object syndrome, as plain as it gets, right? And that's why it happens, because you're excited about the next possibility, but then actually getting to that end result is the real work. Now, the interesting piece is, and I think we saw this with, well, anybody that did the Forge last year, and when we did our RFG group, when you get a result that is more than what you expected, that's when you also get a huge dopamine rush. So like if you're doing the Forge, and you might go through periods of suck and, you know, highs and lows and stuff like that. But if at the very end, when you finish, the gratification is more than what you expected, or the results of you sticking to that process, even though that process sucked, the results end up being better than what you expected, then that becomes a huge dopamine rush. That's why, you know, when you buy something and you get a bonus that you weren't expecting, boom, it's super exciting. And, you know, you think it's the greatest thing in the world. It's because you had a certain expectation and then it was exceeded. And so that's the dopamine rush there. So I think part of this whole process is, you know, we have to really put into our perspective the idea of delayed gratification versus just those small dopamine hits or the big dopamine hits of, you know, the anticipation of getting to that. But we have in the anticipation and the receiving of immediate gratification, it's the delayed achievement that we really have to figure out. How do we harness that to really pull us to the finish line, right? Instead of like charging, you know, trying to push ourselves there. How do we put ourselves in the forward position and look back from that gratitude position of, holy crap, I'm so glad I stuck with this. I'm so glad I did everything that I said I was going to do. And, how do we let that pull us to that finish line?
Yeah, and there's the rub. It's so easy to
Mhm.
start the new thing. Because you think, I mean, how many times, what do we say, 200 and plus times people start and fail fitness programs or diet programs, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Again, it's just you lose motivation, which happens with everything. It's like, I mean, think about like your dream car, Bodine, not even your dream car, like the next car you want to buy, the Toyota 4Runner, all jacked up and hoosiered out. That's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome. And a week after, you're back, all right, it's just my car now.
It's just another car. I mean, you hear people talk about that with their Ferraris and, having a garage full of, incredible cars. It's like, okay, I got that. You hear these billionaires talk about, building their company, and they get to that point and they look back and what they really loved was the building of whatever they're building. You talk about somebody winning a major championship. It's the build up to that championship. Once you win it, it's like, all right, cool. But now I need to find something new to move towards. Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, like those guys, as soon as they had that trophy in hand, okay, great. Smoke a cigar. Now let's go. What's his name? Coach Nick Saban. They say that he is like just crazy when they win a championship. It's like he's already planning the next morning, like what's going on this coming year? How are we going to win again? And it's not because he wants to hold the trophy. It's because of the journey of getting there and where he takes the team and how he helps transform those young men into being champions. We've all experienced it. You think that you want the win, or you think you want the fancy car, you think you want the money. But once you get it, it's not as cool. It's not as cool of a feeling, or as long lasting of a feeling, I should say, as you think it's going to be.
Like 6-pack abs. That's a lot of work to get there.
It's a lot of work and it goes quickly.
Sucks.
It goes very quickly.
What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus that's not like an overnight thing. That's a really hard one. Like I worked my ass off for this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now I've seen Nick Saban at the national championship game, post-game interview, he was still standing on the field and he was already talking about next season. I'm like, this guy's such an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Just enjoy the win for 2 seconds. Can you please? Like, I know you're intense. I know you're an awesome coach, but I think that's just the way. I don't think he's trying to be a prick. I think that he's just wired that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's wired like a prick.
I mean, how many does he have? How many wins does he have? Like he's done that before.
Oh God. Well, yeah, maybe 5 or 6. I don't know. It's a bunch.
Yeah.
Have you heard the story that Carl Morris tells us about? He was working with Louis Oosthuizen, and Louis Oosthuizen had never, I think, made a cut in the British Open. And then he was working with Carl, and he had this red dot on his glove that Carl had sort of said, why don't you try to put a red dot on it too? And that was all just to get him sort of to the present moment and what have you. Anyway, this was at St. Andrews, the holy grail of golf. So Louis Oosthuizen wins this Open Championship. 2 weeks later, Carl goes down to see him and his family, and you would have thought that he would be absolutely, so happy that you could be. But in fact, he was the most miserable man that you can imagine. And this was 2 weeks after he'd won one of the absolute biggest competitions in golf. It was just amazing. Carl always talks about it. He said he can't believe that happened. And that's exactly what you were saying, Jeff.
Yeah. You hear that a lot, because now here you are. So Louis Oosthuizen had probably been dreaming forever of winning the British Open, and not just winning the British Open, but at St. Andrews, right? So how does it get any better than that? And so once you do it, it's kind of like, all right, now what? Right. Where do you go from there? Because I think you feel like, and this is just me projecting, but I think you feel like you've been working your entire life for this one thing, and now you get it, and it's like, well, it's not. I'm still the same guy. I still have to wake up in the morning. I'm still living in the same house. I'm still, now I got to, there's another tournament next week. Like,
Right, back to work.
it's not like, the Wizard of Oz where you're transformed into this, magical land or something like that. It's like, no, just reality hits and okay, ground zero, let's do it again. And then I think about some of those athletes that are in like the Olympics and they have like a false start or something like that. And their dreams are wiped away. And it's like, like they didn't even get the trophy. And now it's back to ground zero 4 years later. You got to work your tail off to get back there again. I mean, how depressing would that be? I could totally imagine people going into major depression after that. So I think it's also, having a lot of perspective of the fact that whatever you're working towards, whatever goal it is, the goal is simply just the stepping stone to the next goal, right? So whatever you're trying to get at the end of these 40 days, that's not the end. That's not the end of the journey. And this has taken me a couple of years to start to wrap my mind around of like, when you're done with the 40 days, like I know that so many people that are doing this for the first time, maybe the second time, are looking forward to that 40th day, 41st day, like, oh, the meal I'm going to have, I can't wait to have this drink, or I can't wait to go have these 12 drinks or whatever, like, and it's not, that's the piece that is, I think, the most important of figuring out, no, when the 40 days is over, or when the goal is over, when you do win the British Open at St. Andrews, where are you going to go tomorrow? Like what's the plan after that? And so having almost like your next steps kind of labeled out a little bit, or trying to figure out where you're going to go after that, just so you're not then just blowing in the wind, like, all right, I did it. And then you're just kind of, because you can go very quickly down the other way, especially after 40 days of, if you're looking at it this way, 40 days of depriving yourself. You can look at it as deprivation, or you can look at it as 40 ways of strengthening and hardening yourself. And so you can continue to just get better and keep pushing yourself to get better and better and better. Or you can say, man, I'm glad that shitty 40 days is over. Now let's get back to my regular life. And then it's like, well, you changed for 40 days, but where are you going after that? Are you just going to slide back into all those habits? I saw that, Joan. I saw that.
For those listening, Joan's taking a drink, an air drink.
An air drink. Yep.
After the 40 days. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, think about Tiger Woods. What the heck kept that guy going? I mean, what didn't he do?
Yeah, like all these guys, you've got 50 million bucks in the bank. You've got 20 million bucks in the bank. You've got whatever, like, people oftentimes wonder why does Rory McIlroy work so hard? Why does Tiger Woods, why is he working so hard to come back? Because they've hit those goals. They've hit those stepping stones of, here's another trophy, here's another major, here's another $2 million, here's a $15 million bonus. Like, okay, I would assume those things are still cool to get, but there's a bigger piece to it, right? Like there's more to it. When I was talking to Josh Gregory, who is Adam Long and Will Zalatoris's coach, and he said that Will Zalatoris, when he was approached by Live Golf, he said he never really considered the idea of even going over there, but he said Will told him that it kind of scared him a little bit, because he was worried that if he would go and do something like that and accept that much money, that he wouldn't be willing to put in the time and effort and work to be as great of a golfer as he thinks he can be. And I think that speaks a lot to Will Zalatoris' mindset, right? Like the fact that he's already aware of that at whatever he is, 26, 27 years old. But, he's won obviously several millions of dollars, has tons of sponsorships and stuff like that, and realized like that's a possibility, that getting all that money. But then I think, these guys at the highest of level once they get it, it's the same thing. It's like, all right, I got that. Now it's cool. I was able to buy my watches and my cars and my houses and whatever and invest in all these different things. But like McIlroy, like I want to be the best fucking golfer in the world. He wants to build the legacy of Rory McIlroy on the links. That's why the guy works so hard still, right?
Right.
He was quite good at the interview. After he won the FedEx Cup, he won the DP Tour, was #1, and then he got to #1 in the world. So they interviewed him, and he said, "Yeah, I really, really love my golf. That's what drives me." So that tells you that he really loves the process, just enjoying hitting shots and getting the best out of what he can become, which was rather cool because I think he went down a little bit at one point, and it looked as if he had lost his sort of desire for playing golf. And a lot of them, I think, do at some point. But it was cool to hear that he's really, really enjoying his golf.
I think we see that in a lot of different modalities too. Golfers, other sports, you go through and some of it has to do with the age of these guys. I mean, they get all this huge money when they're in their early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s. And yeah, I mean, you want to do cool stuff with it. You want to be the baller that's going out and, spending money everywhere, showing people how great you are. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of being young and dumb, and especially male, I think, is showing, showing that stuff off. And then, like Rory, to me, I love listening to Rory's interviews because I believe he's a very deep thinker. The stuff that he reads, and you can tell he just loves to learn about himself. He loves to learn about the game. He's reading and trying to gain as much knowledge as possible, which I think says so much about him. And so you get the insights, and I think he would candidly tell you that he went through that period of like, I've heard him even talk about even just his workouts and stuff. Like part of his workouts were simply for vanity's sake, because he wanted to look fit. He wanted to, and it got him in trouble, I think, for a little bit where he was going too heavy. He was trying to do too much and trying to build a muscular physique. And I think it screwed with his back. And I think he would admit it. And so when you see some of his workout videos and stuff now, he still is doing hard workouts, but he's not trying to deadlift 500 pounds and, huge heavy back squats. But it seems like he has really become introspective on why is he even doing it? Why is he playing the game? When he's got everything that as a little kid he could have ever imagined almost, as far as majors wise and stuff like that. Hasn't gotten everything he wants, but from a monetary standpoint, he definitely has probably superseded where he thought he would be, but introspectively knows like, no, I just love this game and I want to get better. And it's what's cool about the game of golf is there's that piece in all of us, right? Like none of us are going to go win a green jacket, but we still love to go out and beat ourselves up playing out there because we love the challenge of it. We like to push ourselves and find new ways of getting better and more creative. And we spend money on it. We spend time on it. And so I think that's what's so cool about sports and competition and why it's so important. And that's naturally why we gravitate towards golf, because it's something where we can continue to get that fix. Again, it's the whole dopamine thing, right? Like the exciting part about golf is the fact that you can still get better. Like there's still possibility of you to get better. I wouldn't be nearly as excited to go try to play baseball. Like I'm not going to be able to throw a fastball, or I'm not going to, my ability to hit a curveball is not going to get better, but I can go learn how to putt better tomorrow. And so there's that anticipation of getting better. And that's really, I think, that the crux of why we all stick to this game, even though it beats our head in sometimes.
Oh yeah. It's tailor-made for like being competitive athletically for a very, very long time. Yeah. And I still get, like when I play soccer, I still get butterflies in my stomach. And before we go play golf, I still get butterflies. I'm so freaking excited to go do this.
Mm-hmm.
like the night before sometimes, like when we've got mandatory golf Friday and we have to get up so early, I'm like, okay, is my alarm set? Is everything ready to rock? Because I don't want to miss it. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're it's our own religion for sure.
Well, and that's why everybody's here too, right? Because we realize that the stuff that we do here is one little sliver of how we can get better at golf, but also just at in our daily life, right? In living, like how can we kind of optimize our workouts? What are the little things that we can do to get better? That's why we're all interested in, some of the stuff that we are talking about, even like the grounding stuff and like the things that some people might think are crazy. It's like, we're trying to find little ways to feel better, to look better, to play better, to, live longer, gain more power, gain more speed, kind of reclaim some of our youthful characteristics. And I mean, that's really what it's all about, is just trying to kind of recapture some of those things.
Yeah. I wonder what 25-year-old Bodine would say to you right now, like, God damn, you look good, buddy. Because you're way leaner than you were back then.
Hey,
and I don't say way leaner, but
he'd ask me what I'm eating. Like, what did you do to change your diet? What's going on?
Right. Like, dude, I just finished up my college soccer career and
I think I could also beat him in a foot race too.
Oh, I guarantee. Dang, if you had only known then, you could have been a all-American soccer player.
There's so many regrets in my past when it comes to my sports career. But we wouldn't be doing this sitting here right now if anything had changed, right? So
that's right. There are no regrets.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's just part of the getting here. So we didn't even touch on this. So just real quick before we get into the habit stuff, is our boy Hayden. Good Lord.
Oh yeah.
He almost made you look like a Vegas genius. That, oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about with golf.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw out a bold prediction here. My initial prediction of winning sometime this year is first and foremost, right? And I sent this on a couple text messages. Hayden Buckley will win before the Players Championship, if not the Players Championship. That's my new prediction. And that's a bold one. Talk about bold.
Yeah.
That's pretty bold. But did any of you guys get to see like the majority of the round on Sunday that he played?
I watched almost the entire thing.
Yeah,
Marina would be watching that.
Yeah, like I watched every freaking shot. How good and in control was he and his caddy? So his caddy Brian is awesome, and I love that we could hear some of Brian on the telecast, because all you heard him say was, "It's perfect. It's perfect. I love it. I love it.
I love this.
I love this." He's super positive. He's not afraid to tell Hayden when he thinks it's stupid, like whatever Hayden's decision is going to be. But he's very definitive, kind of lets Hayden make some decisions, and then he's like, he knows that like Hayden and he both need 100% belief in whatever decision they're making. They also, and I didn't get to talk to them about this a whole lot, but I believe they started working with Scott Fawcett. Decade Golf is what it's called. And Scott he worked with Zalatoris. He's worked with tons of people. Need to get him on the podcast, in fact. But he's all about like just analyzing stats and like just not making stupid decisions. So knowing exactly what shot is the highest percentage shot to hit in that situation, based on the course itself, but also based on your tendencies. And again, I don't know that much of detail about Decade, but I just really got the sense that they knew exactly what they wanted to do on every shot that he hit. And obviously he was executing, and they told me when I was at the wedding, like, look out, because he is on, and they've figured something out. They've worked on his putting, which still, I think said was a little bit of the weakest part of his game.
Mhm.
But I think they also said like like between 10 and 15 feet, he was like the number one putter of the weekend or something along those lines.
Yep.
So he's definitely made a lot of improvements in some of the different areas. But I just read something, and maybe this was the article you sent me, Rhino, where they were talking about how he's like the most accurate driver of the golf ball on tour or close to,
Yeah.
and also hits it far, which they say is so, usually the guys that are most accurate aren't the longest of hitters, but he hits it longer than most, but is more accurate than most as well, which they said is just a incredible combination. I remember them saying on the telecast, he hit a drive 352 yards, I think, which is just, and I think the last shot that he had into the green at 18, it was 254 yards and he was hitting a 5-iron. I mean, that just
it went 5 inches too far. That's what kind of screwed him.
Mind blowing.
I thought he was really good on the back nine. You wouldn't have thought that he's never won before. He seemed really calm, and as they said on the telecast, that they're just doing exactly what they done all week.
Mm-hmm.
Same pace, same game plan. He took his iron on one of the back 9 holes when the other one took a driver, and Hayden had a birdie on that hole. He had a really good game plan, it seemed as if. And they got on so well, it seemed, with the caddy and him, and just stayed really calm. He was just unfortunate on the last hole, really.
Yeah.
And also that the other one chipped in on that.
Yeah. Oh, that was a killer. Oh, that
was.
I almost slammed my phone down when that went in. I hate to root against somebody, but I was rooting against him.
I was thinking that exact same thing. Like, he seems like a nice kid, but don't do that in that position.
Yeah. So frustrating. But so one of the things about Hayden that, and I honestly, and maybe I'm kind of, hindsight's always 20/20, but I can remember telling some people after the first couple times we met and worked together that like, he just had this air of confidence about him, not cockiness, but confidence, where it was like he just really, really believes in his ability, in his work ethic. He knows that he works hard and works, as hard as a lot of guys out there. And so, having that confidence. And he also told me a long time ago, and they mentioned this on the telecast, like he doesn't watch golf. He has never watched golf. Yeah. So he's not, obviously he knows and knew who like the bigger name guys are, but he told me, he's like, I go out to this is, on the web.com. And when he would play in these, like the Sanderson Farms or whatever, when he got into a couple of those early on PGA events, he's like, I don't know who any of these dudes are. So it's like, it's just like any other golf tournament I ever played in. Like, I'm not intimidated by Peter Malnati, like I never even heard of the guy because he doesn't watch golf. So he always had this air about him where like, I'm just here playing with a bunch of dudes and I know I'm really good and I can probably beat this guy if I have to, or, and so, you go out and then you play against John Rahm and Ricky Fowler in the Phoenix Open. And you're like, okay, there's some guys that out here that are pretty freaking good, but he can hang with them. He can hang with all of them. Right. And, and we saw, obviously that wasn't the top tier competition, but Siwoo Kim is top tier. I think that was his 4th win on tour. Mm-hmm. And, to go neck and neck with that guy and know he's right in front of you. So Hayden was seeing everything that was going on and not have a hole where you kind of blew up. That's what happened in that Phoenix Open when he was in it, Rhino. Remember, he had a couple holes, a couple bad shots that just led to other mistakes where he just didn't have any real holes in his game. He had a couple putts that weren't great, had a couple putts that were unfortunate, like that last one, they showed it hit a spike mark and that possibly was going in. That 3-footer that he missed on, I think it was 15, where he bogeyed, that was probably going in if it didn't hit that little spike mark or whatever it was. But he took it on the chin and took it like a champ. From what I hear, I didn't see his post round interview, but they said he was great in that. And pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to see. But damn, I wanted him to win that thing. Gosh. Yeah.
Man, I was pretty nervous watching the whole thing. So I can't not even begin to imagine what. Well, you know what? It's like the guys playing a sport. The guys actually playing aren't really ever nervous. But god dang, every shot I'm like, oh, because like even on TV, it looks like it's going way right
Oh,
all the time. Like, and then it's there it is, going right to left.
Like I was thinking about that because we kind of think like our game, like, okay, pressure situation, he's got to hit a bomb. Like how many drivers has he hit? That's like Messi stepping up to a penalty kick and being nervous about a penalty kick. Like I've done this 1,000 times. I can hit a driver down the middle, and he was just striping it all day. So, you're right. It's like I guarantee we were way more nervous than he was. I want to talk to his parents because his mom, when we were at the Corn Ferry Tour finals, she sat in the car. She wouldn't watch. So when I talked to her at the wedding, I asked her if she was watching any of them. She said, I'm getting better. I've watched some tournaments, but I still have trouble on like Sundays and when it's, coming down to crunch time. So I'm curious whether she watched any of it on Sunday.
No shot.
No. So I know his dad watched every single swing, but she probably didn't. But even I was a little nervous. Like, should I watch? Shouldn't I watch? Like, not that me watching has any effect. I have to keep telling myself, like, I'm not jinxing him. Right. Like, none of us are jinxing him, but you kind of get that feeling like, oh, maybe I shouldn't just watch and I'll just find out later. But it was so much fun. That was cool.
Yeah. He was quite nice. I think he won about $800,000 just having got
$861,000. Yeah.
Oh, was that right? Yeah. So I said to my husband, oh, he's probably going shopping with his new wife. It's quite nice.
He's that's going to help put down that down payment on the new house they're going to build in Jupiter. Yeah.
Oh, he's going to be one of the Jupiter guys, huh?
Yep. He's already got some property there now. So that might have just sped up the process a little bit.
Let's go bigger.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Yeah, but Shep say, his swing is so unorthodox that I think he's going to miss-hit it every time. He does because his like feet back up a couple inches every time he shoots. He really is like almost literally swinging out of his shoes. He's swinging off the ground for sure.
Yeah, he's got that little bit of a hitch to start.
Yeah.
And then when he hits, so as he's hitting, I mean, that's that explosive power. So some guys, just rotate and go, like right foot to left foot. Some guys like a Justin Thomas, they get almost like vertical. And I was just watching a video from Justin James, who's a long driver. And we had him on the show a long time ago. And he was talking about medicine ball slams and how when he slammed, he was showing himself slamming a medicine ball and like his feet are literally like hopping up off the ground as he's slamming. And it's the same exact kind of a motion as he's going to hit. He's like using the ground and jumping and almost like stiffening his whole body to create as much force and impact as when he's hitting. And it's working, I'm sure there's a lot of coaches out there that are like, oh, I would never teach a kid to do that. But I think that's the beauty of having a really, really good coach, of knowing what to mess with and what not to mess with. Right. Like, there is no perfect swing. Hold on. I've got a book for you guys.
What a surprise. Going to the golf library.
So
what's it called? What's the title?
It's called How We Learn to Move.
There it is.
And I just posted a picture of it on Instagram, but the dominating thought is that there's not one correct technique ever. No move is ever repeated twice. We think that we're ingraining this perfect swing and that, you're teaching your body to basically create kind of like a computer program. And that's not really how the body works. It's more about creating a movement pattern or creating a body that is allowed to adapt to every situation. Right. So, and it's talking about variability and how important it is to really change up your stimuli when you're practicing, and think of your golf swing almost as like a flock of birds in the sky. It's got to be able to react, like the birds, they change direction because one of the birds kind of changes which way it's going to go, and they all, without thinking ahead of time, they all change and react differently. It's no different than, kicking a rolling soccer ball, or maybe the ball bounces a little bit, but you're still able to figure out what you need to do to kick it. Or I remember Adam Young, a great instructor, talking about, I forget the name of what the actual motor component is, but like when you're holding a glass of water, you're filling up a glass of water under the faucet. Think about all of the neural connections that have to go on for you to hold that cup still while the weight of the water increases the movement, but you're able to hold that still. It's not like you can tell your brain like, okay, increase the amount of strength in your deltoid and my bicep, and it's like your body just ends up reacting even though the stimuli is changing. That's what a golf swing is. So I'm really excited because he's going to get into some drills on how to teach people how to move, and it's all related to sport. So reactive sports as well as throwing, hitting, golf. So really intrigued by that, but yeah, like it's not one perfect way of hitting. I don't even know how I got on this topic here, but
it just organically flows.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. So how does that? It almost sounds like the opposite of what we would describe as muscle memory, because isn't the way I always understood that is like you're trying to just keep repeating the exact same thing over and over and over, and then I don't know.
Well, so it's almost like I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. It's almost like if you're doing a squat, like you're working on a good, efficient way to do that motion. But if you think about all of the muscle fibers, all of the cells in your body, all of the neural connections, it's not going to be exactly the same firing pattern every single time. When you're swinging a golf club, let's just say the wind starts to blow, like your body's going to naturally adjust to that a little bit. If you're kicking a soccer ball, you're running to the right versus running to the left, like you're changing. Think about throwing a baseball. If you're throwing a baseball from home plate to first base, or throwing it from home plate to the center fielder, like it's the same motion, but it can't be exactly the same because you had to change something velocity wise. You had to change, like you had to change it, or like, let's maybe even a better way to say it is like, let's say you're a shortstop and you're throwing a ball to first base. Well, you might pick up the ball and throw it to first base, or you might be running to second base and have to throw to first base this way, right? Like you're still throwing, but you didn't say like top down, you didn't plan that out ahead of time. And so you have to have variability in that muscle memory. So it's like a gray area. It's not like this is exactly the way that your neurons are going to fire and your muscle fibers are going to contract, and there's just too much going on. So no swing, just like a tennis player, no forehand is exactly the same. You might be leaning this way. You might be leaning this way. It might be up here. It might be down here. I mean, you're still practicing the same kind of motion, but it's never identical.
Yeah.
That's why sort of golf coaches, if they use just internal focus and say, all right, you need to have your bowed wrist here, or you have to have your lead arm going there, or okay, concentrate on your hip turn, and you got to start with this at the downswing, instead of the external focus, where you can say, for example, I had a lesson the other week and the pro said, all right, well, here's a club that he had made and it looked like a hammer. There's a guy called Kendall McQuaid who's actually built a golf club like a hammer. And just imagine that you are sort of hammering a nail into the wall with this club. And because you react to that in a different way, you know, you learn, the body sort of reorganizes it automatically. Instead of this golf pro saying to me, all right, you're dropping this elbow here like that, and then you need to extend there, and then you remember to have a high finish at the end. So you have 10 thoughts in your head instead of thinking, well, all right, I'm just going to hammer this blooming nail into the wall. And
Right.
I tell you, I mean, it worked really well.
You know,
I mean,
it's
that's
funny.
like just one example.
I would love to see what that looks like because
Okay,
I
I'll
literally,
send you a link.
please do, because just yesterday I was thinking, as I was reading this book, I was thinking like it'd be cool to have a golf club that, you know, where you have the same handle, but instead of the actual the head of an iron that, you know, is tilted and has the loft or whatever, almost like just a putter basically, but
Yes.
that's straight, because that would force you to square up every time. So if
Yeah.
it wasn't, you know, you're not worried about the loft and all that stuff, but if you just had that and you had to hit, like even just hitting into a net, you'd be able to tell if you're hitting that straight. So if you're squared up, or if you're tipped out to the right or tipped to the left, because you would see where the ball would go. And so it sounds like that's exactly what this guy kind of has.
awesome because I was on TrackMan, and you could immediately see that the attack angle went exactly, you know, where I wanted it to minus.
Mhm.
And that was without me thinking anything else but hammering this nail into the wall, because that kept my hands in front, and I extended. So it was awesome. I'll send you a link about Kendall McQuaid's philosophy and the hammer.
Yeah, if you could put it in the Facebook group,
I will do, yes.
that'd be awesome. Adam Young, same guy I was mentioned before with the water glass example.
That I was thinking of.
He has always said like his favorite golf training aid is he will put a golf ball that he literally has hammered a nail into in front of his client, and then, you know, say, okay, here's the visual that I want, and he'll angle it. So let's say he wants an in to out path, and he wants to help somebody hit a draw. He'll set the golf ball on the ground, show them where the nail is, and then he'll take that away and put another ball down and say, all right, I want you to pretend that you're hammering that nail into the ball, just what you're saying. And he said, rather than tell you, okay, you got to close your feet a little bit, and we're going to close down the face a little, or you need to be here in your backswing. It's all about the external focus. Like, no, just hit the nail like you would if you were trying to hammer that thing in. And in fact, that's what I've been picturing in my 15 daily swings is the nail. Cause I tend to have a little bit of a left to right weak fade. So my swings, I've been trying to basically hammer the nail for a little in to out path.
I've done the same with, you know, because I follow Adam Young, he's so good.
Mhm.
And I've been visualizing exactly the same, the nail in the ball, if I want to fade it or I draw it and just hammer it sort of through that ball. And it works really well, and it's so easy and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy's all right. Hey, look at I put the link in there. The club looks badass. I thought it was like kind of what you're thinking, Bodine, like the hammer was turned sideways. It was just like like the flat part of it. But yeah, it's like the head of the hammer.
It's like a big mallet.
Yeah, or like a small mallet, like a smaller mallet on the end of a long shaft.
Huh.
That would force you to hit it square.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that dude, I think, is onto something there.
Very cool.
I wonder if Marina, can you buy that club?
I think you can. I think you can actually. He's been, I mean, he's a really interesting guy. He's been on Carl Morris's podcast at least once, if not twice, I think. If you Google or you search Kendall McQuaid.
Yeah, it says you got to email him to buy it.
Yeah.
Let's get one, Ryan.
I'm in. We are in no way affiliated with Instinctive Golf Coaching, folks.
Not yet.
Yeah, okay.
Could you imagine walking out to the driving range and just pulling that thing out of your bag? That's a video that we should make. Just pull that out and see what kind of looks we get.
Oh, that's the greatest thing ever.
All right, order it.
I think what do you call it? Hayden Buckley could beat us with that club.
Oh yeah, he'd beat us with a putter for sure.
Awesome.
All right. It's 2:51. And I guess we kind of talked about
Why do we have an agenda?
our topic. Well, you got to have something, if we're not getting peppered with questions, we got to have something. But I think, so we talked about, the whole chat this week was kind of going to be around, New Year's resolutions and, this was the week of what is it? 13 days, Ryan, where is kind of like
Quitters Day.
National
right.
Quitters Day.
Yeah.
It's funny because
this
I got
week.
an email from, who was it? The Nerd Fitness guy. Did you get that? I think he sent an email about on the 13th day of the month that it was National Quitters Day, which is funny.
Probably.
Just goes to show how prevalent that really is.
Yeah, it's a thing.
But so we talked about in a couple of the emails this week that there's some big factors of why people give up, and we kind of opened up talking about that stuff today. And we even talked about this the last couple of weeks, but the first one that we had mentioned was, when you try to do too much too fast. And we almost kind of spit in the face of this with the Forge a little bit, because we are implementing 7 different things for people to do every single day. But I also don't think that it's not like a crazy, even though there's 7 of them, it's not like we're trying to do anything super extreme, right? It's just little things. So I don't think it's too overwhelming. Plus, I do think that there's a benefit to sometimes plunging yourself into, a little bit of a shock factor. But when you try to do too much, which is what we talked about last week, when people on top of the Forge are trying to do 10 other things, or you're trying to make every change possible that you want to make when it comes to your health and your fitness. So you want to eat better, you're going to stop drinking, you're going to exercise, 2 hours a day, you're going to do cardio, you're going to do power training, you're going to do strength training, you're going to do the hot sauna, you're going to do the cold plunges, you're going to go do grounding, you're going to go do a hyperbaric oxygen chamber twice a week. It's just not sustainable. So trying to do too much too quick is just a recipe for quick burnout, or just immediate, kicking yourself because you've failed, and then you just totally go off the rails and give up. The second one kind of falls into the same line, but in a different mindset, is having a goal that's way too big. So if, your New Year's resolution is to, lose 100 pounds, but you think you're going to do it like in 3 months, like you're just setting yourself up for failure. Yeah, there might be some crazy story, like a David Goggins story of somebody that did that one time.
Right.
But they also, destroyed their body, or, ran 300-mile races in a week, like just going complete outlier. Set yourself up with a goal that is, now I'm a big believer in having like big long-term goals, like big, huge, giant long-term goals, because it forces you to get creative and push yourself. But like some of these shorter goals, month long, 6 months, you have to also have your feet somewhat planted firmly in reality. And so if you set yourself up with a goal that's just unattainable, unless you are one of those 1% outliers, you're just setting yourself up for failure. But the third one that I think we can kind of have a good discussion on these last 5 minutes. And Marina, this is when we were talking about you prior to the call, Ryan and I, is, and we didn't send an email out about this one yet, but is just sometimes you can have the greatest intentions. You can be doing the right things, habit-wise. You can have a goal that's realistic, but then sometimes you're just in an environment that doesn't allow you, or doesn't set you up for success, right? On like an exaggerated end of the spectrum would be your goal is to not drink for 40 days, but you go hang out in a bar every night for those 40 days, right? Like that's just putting yourself in a terrible environment. That's tempting yourself. Now, if you really want to challenge yourself and like that's one way to do it, but I would say that environment is not conducive to you helping yourself get better. In fact, this is the reason why I wanted to do these Sunday morning smash sessions that we're doing here at the gym, because I knew that by getting a group of us together, it's just going to kind of foster everybody to keep pushing forward a little bit. And it's fun to be here, you know, working out with the group of people that are here, the guys that are here. And obviously you work out a little bit harder when you're with some other peers, and you get to talk about your experiences. And that would be different than going and hanging out at the bar and talking to those people about, you know, the fact that you're not drinking and you're exercising every day and you're doing this and you're doing that. They'd say you're crazy and you're stupid, but here it's kind of like you're encouraging each other. So putting yourself in that environment. Now, Marina, the situation that you found yourself in, not that it was a bad environment, right? It's just, it was a habitual environment that, so for those of you that don't know, and Marina, I hope you don't mind us calling you out on this, but when it was last week or a week and a half ago, Marina just like habitually grabbed a biscuit that she had told herself she couldn't eat when she was on the forge. After her round of golf, having tea, grabbed a biscuit, popped it in her mouth, and had that immediate dreaded attack. But it was that's just an example of how our habits are so ingrained in us. And when we're in a habitual setting, sometimes we don't even think about those things. And so, you know, to take it to a different level, like if you're in your house and you have a bunch of crappy food around that you normally would have in the pantry, one simple thing to help your environment is just to get rid of that stuff, right? Like don't even have it there to be able to tempt yourself. If alcohol is a big issue and is very hard for you to stay away from, then don't stock your fridge with beer. Don't have, you know, a bottle of alcohol, you know, don't have your whiskey up on the shelf that you stare at every single day. You know, make things difficult. Like if you're going to break your promise, make it really difficult to do it. So like you have to go through several steps, put a lot of friction in between your ability to break that habit or go against whatever you said you were going to do. I know we've talked about this before, Ryan, like even environmentally, like my dad has always been a runner, and from when I was a little kid, and he told me a long time ago, like he doesn't run quite as much as he used to, but he used to put his running shoes right next to the bed, along with the shorts he was going to wear, because he said, getting out of bed is hard, but I knew as soon as my feet hit the floor and I put my running shoes on, that was it. I was going to go run. But if they weren't there and it took just a little extra step, I gave myself enough time to talk myself out of going for a run, because he used to have to do it very early in the morning, you know,
right.
And anybody that does anything early morning probably feels that tug.
Oh, it's so much easier to crawl back in your warm bed.
Yeah.
And you know, I was thinking about the Sunday morning smash sessions about changing your environment. That changes your Saturday night environment also, when you know you have to wake up super early and go work out with these guys. So
absolutely.
That does a lot.
Absolutely. You know what? I think I've said this before, and I feel super grateful that we have such a community of people doing the forge just in our 18 strong community. But one of the coolest things for me is these Sunday morning sessions are filled with 3/4 of the guys that are here are like some of my best friends, you know, like Shepard, and, you know, like my buddies from college, and like guys that, you know, aside from John, but like some of the guys that are here, like 5 years ago, I would have never thought that they would have done this, you know, like, and so I don't know who said this, but I thought it was really profound. And it was something along the lines of like, if you want to go places and you want to get better, in many situations, you might have to change friends, or you might have to change your friends. Meaning either you get new friends, or you help your current friends make the changes with you, right? And so like it almost gives me goosebumps to think about like all the guys that are some of my best friends that are doing this stuff. And now the conversations that we have about getting better. Right. And like, these are guys I used to drink beer with and, play pitchers with and, like go on bachelor parties and all, like do the stupid stuff. And, now here we all are, like all still having a ton of fun, still living our lives. But like, there's now this new pocket of our friendship that we're all trying to kind of optimize ourselves and get a little bit better and help each other get better. And so, like I didn't have to change friends, but me and my friends are changing. Right. And I think
Right.
that's pretty cool. And I consider all of you guys that are on this call, anybody watching this call, like I consider you part of that crew, obviously. And so know that the stuff that you're doing, when you're out there improving yourselves, when you're working hard, when you're out there practicing on the range or you're doing the forge, that your friends are seeing that. And some might give you some flack, but some are paying attention. Some are noticing, and some people are really, maybe they haven't said anything yet, but I bet there's some people that that you love, that you care about, that are intrigued with just the things that you do. And forget the forge, but just the things. I mean, you guys are on this call every single week, right? Like you are a special breed that's trying to do something that other people aren't. But they see you doing it. They see the results that you get. They see, maybe on the golf course, maybe just fitness wise, maybe just, how you conduct yourself. So I don't know. I kind of went on a tangent there, but I want you guys to be proud of the things that you're doing. And I feel fortunate that you guys are all part of this, because I think that's a really cool thing that we're all doing together. And we don't have to change friends. We're just all changing together. Right.
Makes it so much easier.
Yeah. I mean, Ryan would have dropped me a long time ago.
Like a bad habit.
Except we're blood, so we have to see each other at parties.
Yeah, Thanksgiving and Christmas and such.
Right. All right, guys, that's all I got for today.
Yeah, we'll name the training process next week, I guess.
Oh yeah. The second part of our agenda that we didn't even.
Yeah, well, that's gonna take a little bit of brainstorming from everybody.
Why don't Rhino, why don't you throw something in the Facebook group about that? Maybe we could even just kind of start some conversation in there. And if you guys don't mind, Ryan, if you're up for it, Ryan will post something in there. And I would love for maybe everybody that's on this call to at least chime something in, just to kind of get the conversation started. All right.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Cool.
Have a great week. We'll catch
And
up with
you.
you next week. There is no Hayden Buckley this week playing, but remember, I forget how many weeks we have until the Players Championship. But that's
middle of March, I believe, is when that happens.
That's my prediction. In fact, we need to go put some DraftKings money on them very soon.
All right, let's make it happen.
All right, we'll see you guys.
See you, everybody.
Thank you a lot. Thank you.
Adios.